Once upon a time, in a quiet little town named Willow Creek, there lived a kind-hearted man named Charlie. He was known for his big smile and warm nature. Charlie loved to tell jokes to everyone around him. He would make old people laugh, tell funny stories to kids, and even make dogs wag their tails with his silly faces. One clear night, as Charlie was gazing at the stars, he saw a shooting star streak by. Excited, he closed his eyes and made a wish for adventure. That night, something magical happened. From the sky above, a small spaceship landed softly in a nearby field. Curious and brave, Charlie went to look. As he reached the field, a small door opened from the spaceship. Out came a little alien girl. She was not much taller than Charlie's knees and had big, bright eyes that sparkled like stars. Her skin was a soft shade of blue, and she had 3 cute antennae on her head that wiggled when she was happy. "Hello, Earth creature," she said with a smile. "My name is Zuri." Charlie laughed in surprise. "Hello, Zuri. I'm Charlie. What brings you to Earth?" Zuri explained that she was exploring different planets to learn about them. "And I love jokes. Can you tell me a funny one?" she asked. Charlie chuckled and told her a silly joke about a cow that jumped. Over the moon, Zuri laughed so hard that she rolled on the grass. They spent hours exchanging jokes and stories. Charlie joked, "When you grow up, I just might marry you, Zuri." Zuri blushed and giggled. "Okay, but don't forget about me." As cow. Dawn broke. Zuri had to return to her spaceship. "I have to go home now, but I will remember your jokes forever," she promised. And with that, she waved goodbye and flew off into the sky. Years passed, and Charlie grew up. He often thought about the little alien girl and their fun night together. Though life was busy, he smiled whenever he remembered Zuri. He continued to tell jokes and make people laugh, but deep down, he wondered if he would ever see her again. One sunny afternoon, Charlie decided to have a picnic in the same field where he first met Zuri. He laid out a blanket and filled it with all kinds of yummy food. Just as he was about to take a bite of his sandwich, he heard a strange noise overhead. Looking up, he saw a familiar spaceship landing softly nearby. His heart raced. "Could it be?" he whispered to himself. And sure enough, out popped Zuri, now taller and more beautiful than he remembered. She still had that captivating smile and the same 3 antennae, though they looked a bit longer and more elegant. "Charlie!" she called out, her voice full of joy. "I'm back!" Charlie jumped up and ran towards her. "Zuri! I can't believe it's really you!" "You look amazing." Zuri beamed as she approached him. "Thank you. I'm all grown up now. I traveled to many planets, learned many things, but I never forgot your funny jokes. You were my first friend." They sat on the picnic blanket, excitedly catching up. Zuri shared stories of her adventures. She talked about the colorful creatures on her planet and the amazing sights she had seen. Charlie listened closely, sharing his life stories and his dreams too. "I always laughed when I remembered that silly joke about the cow," Zuri said with a grin. "But Charlie, I came back for a reason." "What is it?" Charlie asked, eager to know. "I want to learn more about Earth and its cultures, and I need your help. I want you to show me how you live, and in return, I will show you the wonders of my world." Charlie's heart filled with excitement. "Of course, I would love to show you everything about Earth." And so, their friendship blossomed again. They spent days together exploring the town. Charlie showed Zuri the park where children played, the library filled with books and knowledge, and even the small diner where they shared the best burger and fries. Zuri loved Earth food, making funny faces with every new flavor. "This is my favorite!" she shouted after trying ice cream. Charlie laughed at her happiness, feeling a warm thrum of joy in his chest. As the days turned into weeks, something special grew between them. They joked and laughed, shared dreams and secrets, and created memories that felt like magic. Charlie realized he had feelings for Zuri that were deeper than friendship. One evening, under a twinkling sky, Charlie gathered his courage. "Zuri," he said softly, "I know we joked about marrying you when you grew up, but I truly mean it now. I care about you, and I want to be with you. Will you be my partner?" Zuri's eyes sparkled with emotion. "Charlie, I've never felt this way about anyone before. You are kind, funny, and my best friend. Yes, I would love that." They shared a moment under the stars, feeling as if the universe was celebrating their connection. However, the truth weighed heavily on Zuri. "But I must return to my planet soon. My time on Earth is limited due to my studies." Charlie felt a pang in his heart. "I understand, but will you come back? Always?" Zuri nodded, promising, "I will always come back when I can. You're in my heart, Charlie." And so, the days flickered by too quickly. Zuri prepared to leave once more. On the night of her departure, Charlie stood by the field where they first met. "Remember our promise?" Zuri said, her voice trembling. "No matter where I am, we will be connected." "I will never forget you," Charlie replied, holding her hands tightly. "You'll always be my star, Zuri." With tears and smiles, Zuri entered her spaceship and waved goodbye. Charlie watched as the ship vanished into the night sky. Years would pass, but Charlie would always look up at the stars, smiling at the memories of the little alien girl he once joked about marrying. He kept laughing and telling jokes, making everyone around him happy, waiting for the day Zuri would return to share new stories under the twinkling stars, reminding him that love knows no boundaries, even across the universe. The harsh desert sun beat down on Mark's weathered face as he tinkered with his Naljan old sand skimmer. He was a simple man, a mechanic on the desolate planet of Xerxes Prime, a place known more for its brutal sandstorms than friendly faces. One day, a sleek silver spaceship landed near his workshop. Out stepped a delegation of Xylarans, a race of diminutive blue-skinned aliens with large, curious eyes. They needed repairs, and Mark, being the only mechanic for miles, was their only hope. Among the Xylarans was a small girl, no older than 7, with bright, inquisitive eyes. Her name was Lyra. She would sit and watch Mark work, asking endless questions about the strange human technology. Mark, amused by her curiosity, would patiently explain everything, even the most complex concepts. He found himself growing fond of the little alien. One day Lyra asked him if he had a wife. Mark chuckled, wiping grease from his hands. "Not yet, little one," he said. "Maybe someday I'll marry a beautiful alien princess." Lyra giggled, her blue skin turning a shade lighter. "When I grow up, will you marry me, Mark?" Mark laughed, ruffling her hair. "Maybe, Lyra, but you'll have to grow up first, and then come back and find me." It was a harmless joke, a fleeting moment of levity in the monotony of his life. The Xylarans departed after a week, their ship repaired and ready to face the vastness of space. Mark returned to his routine, the memory of Lyra fading with time, like a mirage in the desert heat. Years turned into decades. Xerxes Prime remained a forgotten outpost, and Mark continued his quiet existence, the sand skimmer his only companion. Then, one day, another ship landed. This one was different, larger and more advanced than the previous one. A ramp extended, and a figure emerged. Tall and graceful, with skin as blue as the desert sky at dawn, she walked towards him. Mark squinted, his heart skipping a beat. There was something familiar about her eyes, the way she carried herself. "Mark," she said, her voice a melodious chime. "Do you remember me?" He stared at her, dumbfounded. "Lyra," he stammered, hardly believing. The little girl was gone, replaced by a stunningly beautiful woman. "I told you I'd come back," she said, a playful smile gracing her lips. Mark was speechless. He remembered the joke, the throwaway line he'd uttered years ago. He had never expected her to take it seriously. "Lyra, I didn't think that I would actually return," she finished, her eyes twinkling. "Xylarans don't make promises we don't intend to keep." She explained that she had become a diplomat, traveling the galaxy, representing her people. But she had never forgotten the kind human who had shown her patience and friendship on a desolate planet. "I came back to see if your offer still stands," she said, her gaze unwavering. Mark was overwhelmed. He was just a simple mechanic, living a solitary life. He hadn't thought about love or marriage in years. Yet, here was a beautiful alien woman, a princess in her own right, offering him a chance at something extraordinary. He hesitated. Could he leave Xerxes Prime? Could he adapt to a life among the stars? Could he truly be worthy of someone like Lyra? Doubt gnawed at him. He was old, set in his ways. She deserved someone better, someone who could offer her a life of adventure and excitement. Lyra seemed to sense his hesitation. "Mark," she said softly, "I didn't come back because I need a prince. I came back because I remember the kindness you showed me. I remember the way you explained things, the way you made me feel welcome. I came back for you." Her words touched him deeply. He saw the sincerity in her eyes, the genuine affection she held for him. He realized that he had been so focused on his own limitations that he had failed to see the possibilities before him. "Lyra," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I'm not sure I'm the man you think I am. I'm just a mechanic, an old man living on a forgotten planet." "That's the man I remember," she replied, stepping closer. "The man who treated me with kindness and respect, even when I was just a curious little girl." He took her hand, her blue skin warm against his calloused fingers. "In that case," he said, a smile spreading across his face, "I guess I have a wedding to plan." The news of their impending marriage spread like wildfire across Xerxes Prime. The few other inhabitants of the planet were stunned. A human marrying an alien princess? It was unheard of. The wedding was a grand affair, a fusion of human and Xylaran traditions. Mark wore a simple suit, feeling awkward among the elaborate Xylaran garments. Lyra, however, was radiant, in a gown woven from shimmering starlight threads. As they stood before the assembled guests, Mark couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief. He had joked about marrying her years ago, never imagining that it would actually come to pass. He looked at Lyra, her eyes filled with love and hope, and he knew he had made the right decision. Life with Lyra was an adventure. He traveled with her to different planets, met strange and wonderful creatures, and learned about cultures beyond his wildest imagination. He was no longer just a mechanic on a forgotten planet. He was a husband, an ambassador, a bridge between two worlds. He learned to navigate Xylaran society, understanding their customs and traditions. He discovered that Lyra was not just a diplomat, but also a skilled politician, working tirelessly to promote peace and understanding among the different races of the galaxy. He also learned that being married to an alien princess wasn't always easy. There were cultural differences to overcome, political intrigues to navigate, and the constant scrutiny of the galactic community. But through it all, he and Lyra remained steadfast, their love for each other a beacon of hope in a sometimes chaotic universe, and sometimes, when they were alone, Lyra would look at him with that same mischievous glint in her eyes and say, "Remember when you joked about marrying me, Mark? I guess the joke's on you now." And Mark would laugh, knowing that he had won the greatest prize of all, the love of a beautiful, intelligent, and incredibly determined alien princess. The little joke had become a reality, a testament to the power of kindness, the enduring nature of promises, and the unexpected turns that life can take. even on a desolate planet like Xerxes Prime. He was no longer just Mark, the mechanic. He was Mark, the husband of Lyra, the Xyloran princess, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Once upon a time, in a small town on Earth, there lived a kind-hearted man named Tom. He was known for his quirky sense of humor and his love for adventure. One sunny afternoon, while wandering in the nearby woods, he stumbled upon a shimmering blue light. Curiosity got the better of him, and he followed the light. As Tom moved closer, he found a little alien girl sitting on a rock, her big eyes sparkling with wonder. She had green skin, pointy ears, and a smile that could brighten the darkest day. "Hello," she said with a tiny wave. "Hello, little one. What are you doing here?" Tom asked, squatting down to her level. "I'm from a distant planet," she replied, twirling around in excitement. "I'm exploring Earth." Tom chuckled. "Well, if you ever need a husband when you grow up, I'm available," the alien girl giggled. "Okay, I'll remember that." They spent the rest of the afternoon playing games and sharing stories about their homes. Tom learned that her name was Zira, and she came from a planet called Vortex. Zira showed Tom her special abilities, like glowing in the dark and making flowers bloom with her laughter. As the sun began to set, Zira said, "I have to go home now, but I promise I will come back one day." With a wave and a flash of light, she disappeared into the air. Tom returned home, smiling from the day's unexpected adventure. He thought about Zira often. As years passed, he often joked about their strange meeting, telling his friends he would wait for his alien bride. One day, 10 years later, Tom was out fishing at the same spot where he had met Zira. Suddenly, the air shimmered again, and his heart raced as he saw a familiar figure. Zira had returned, but she was no longer the little girl he had met. She had grown up, and she looked beautiful. "Zira!" Tom shouted, ecstatic. "Tom!" She laughed, running to him. "I've missed you." They hugged tightly, and Tom felt a warmth in his heart. "You've grown. You look amazing," he said, unable to hide his excitement. Zira blushed. "Thank you. I've been learning about Earth. I wanted to see you again, and I might need your help." Tom raised an eyebrow. "Help with what?" Zira explained that her planet was in danger. An evil creature, known as the Gorgoth, had taken over Vortex and caused chaos. "I need someone brave to help me save my planet," she said earnestly. Tom didn't hesitate. "Of course, I'll help you. Just tell me what to do." With her glowing fingers, Zira created a portal that brightened the entire forest. "Step through this with me and we will go to Vortex." Together, they jumped into the glowing light. When they landed, everything looked different. The skies were a deep purple, and the trees were tall and had strange fruits hanging from them. Zira stood tall, looking out confidently. "Welcome to Vortex," she declared. They quickly gathered information about the Gorgoth. It was a massive, terrifying creature with scales and sharp claws that hunted down anyone who stood in its way. Tom felt a mix of fear and determination. He had faced many challenges in his life, but this was different. This was for Zira and her home. Zira introduced Tom to her friends, a brave group of aliens who were ready to fight back. There was Lyra, a fierce warrior with amazing combat skills, and Guido, a clever inventor who created gadgets to fight the Gorgoth. Together, they planned a strategy. Tom volunteered to distract the Gorgoth while Lyra and Zira would launch their attack. "I'll use my human charm to keep it busy," he joked. Finally, the day of the battle arrived. The group approached the Gorgoth's lair, a dark cave, filled with echoes. The air was thick with tension. Tom took a deep breath and stepped into the light, shouting, "Hey you, Gorgoth! Come out and play!" The Gorgoth roared, stepping out of the shadows with its glowing eyes fixed on Tom. "Who dares to disturb my domain?" it bellowed. "I'm Tom, and I'm here to put an end to your reign of terror," he proclaimed, standing tall despite his fear. The Gorgoth, surprised by the brave human, growled. "You think you can defeat me?" Zira and Lyra quickly moved in from the sides, launching their bright energy bolts. The Gorgoth swiped at them, but they were quick and smart. Tom kept moving, darting around, making the monster focus on him. As they fought, Guido used his inventions to weaken the creature. Explosions of light surrounded them, making the landscape glow even brighter. The team worked in perfect harmony, with Tom keeping the Gorgoth busy while Zira used her powers to heal and protect her friends. Eventually, after a fierce battle, they were able to trap the Gorgoth in a magical net made by Guido. The creature howled in defeat. "You may have won this time," it snarled, "but I will return." Tom and the aliens cheered. They had saved Vortex. As they celebrated, Zira turned to Tom. "I couldn't have done this without you. You are more than just a friend. You are part of my family now." Tom smiled, feeling a sense of belonging. "And you are the best adventure I've ever had. So what now?" Zira looked at him with sparkling eyes. "Now I can show you my world, and maybe after everything settles, we could see that marriage thing you joked about." Laughter filled the air as Tom and Zira began to explore this new world together, filled with hope and friendship. The bond they created was stronger than any distance between their worlds, and it was only the beginning of many adventures to come. The desert wind whipped around Jake's worn boots as he tinkered with the comm antenna on the dusty outpost. He was a long way from home, stationed on the remote planet Xylos, a desolate rock mostly known for its rich mineral deposits, and the surprisingly friendly, diminutive alien race called the Glim. Jake was a jovial, easygoing guy, the kind who could strike up a conversation with a rock. This made him surprisingly popular with the Glim, who were curious about human customs, and found Jake's humor endlessly amusing, even when he wasn't trying to be funny. One day, a small Glim girl, barely reaching his knee, toddled up to him while he was repairing a solar panel. Her name was Zira, and she had the wide, innocent eyes and curious antennae that were characteristic of young Glim. She watched him intently, her head tilting as he worked. "What are you doing, Jake?" she chirped, her voice like tiny bells. "Fixing this solar panel," Jake replied, giving her a smile. "It's like giving the outpost some sunshine to drink." Zira giggled, her antennae wiggling. "Can I help?" Jake chuckled. "Well, you're a bit small to hold the wrench, but you can keep me company. Tell me a story." Zira obliged, launching into a rambling tale about her pet rock, Bob, and its adventures in the crystal caves. Jake listened patiently, interjecting with questions and making silly comments that made her laugh. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the desert landscape, Zira's father, a stern-looking Glim elder named Borak, approached them. Borak was grateful for Jake's kindness towards his daughter, but he was also wary of human influence on their culture. Borak thanked Jake for entertaining Zira, and then, with a twinkle in his eye, added, "She speaks of you often. She says she wants to learn all about humans." Jake ruffled Zira's head playfully. "Well, when she's old enough, maybe I'll teach her myself. Maybe I'll even marry her." He said it as a joke, a light-hearted jest intended to amuse, not to be taken seriously. Borak, however, didn't quite understand the human concept of joking about marriage. He simply nodded, his expression unreadable. Zira, on the other hand, beamed at Jake, her eyes shining with innocent adoration. Jake quickly realized his mistake. "I was just kidding, Borak," he stammered, feeling a bit foolish. "It was just a human thing." Borak simply shrugged. "Time will tell, Jake. Time will tell." Jake forgot about the incident soon after. He continued his work on Xylos, enjoying the company of the Glim and occasionally sharing stories with Zira. But the memory of his offhand comment lingered in the back of his mind. Years passed. Jake's tour on Xylos ended, and he returned to Earth. He moved on with his life, taking on new assignments, meeting new people, and slowly forgetting about the little Glim girl he had once befriended. Then, one day, a sleek silver spacecraft landed near the remote outpost where Jake was now stationed on a different planet. He watched with curiosity as the ramp lowered and a figure emerged. It was a Glim, but not like any he had seen before. This Glim was tall, elegant, and radiated an aura of quiet confidence. She wore a shimmering robe that seemed to shift colors. With the light, and her antennae were adorned with delicate glowing crystals. Jake felt a jolt of recognition. He knew those eyes. "Zira?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The Glim smiled, a warm, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Hello, Jake," she said, her voice now melodious and mature. "It has been a long time." Jake was stunned. He hadn't recognized the little girl in this sophisticated woman. He gaped at her, speechless. "I have come a long way, Jake," Zira continued, "to learn more about humans, just as I promised." Jake swallowed, trying to find his voice. You've changed." "As have you," Zira replied, her gaze sweeping over him. "But some things remain the same." A wave of panic washed over Jake. He remembered his offhand comment. The joke. That wasn't a joke to the Glim. Had she come all this way because of that? "Zira," he began hesitantly, "about what I said all those years ago." Zira raised a hand, silencing him. "I know it was a jest, Jake. A human thing, as you called it." Jake sighed in relief. "So you're not expecting me to?" Zira's smile widened. "Not exactly. But I have been studying human culture, and I have learned that humans often express affection through elaborate rituals and displays of commitment. I find these customs intriguing." Jake's relief turned to apprehension. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Zira said, stepping closer to him, "that I wish to understand these human things more intimately. I wish to learn about love, commitment, and the complexities of human relationships. With you." Jake felt his heart pounding in his chest. He was no longer dealing with a naive little girl. This was a grown woman, intelligent, powerful, and undeniably interested in him. He looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of coercion or manipulation. But all he saw was genuine curiosity and a hint of something else, something that made his pulse quicken. "Zira," he said, his voice now steady, "this is unexpected. I need time to think." Zira nodded, her expression patient. "Of course, Jake. I have traveled far, but I am willing to wait. I believe that understanding takes time, and I am very interested in understanding you." She paused, then added with a playful glint in her eye, "Besides, I brought Bob with me. He's eager to see you again." Jake couldn't help but laugh. Bob, the pet rock. Even after all these years, some things hadn't changed. As Zira turned to walk towards the outpost, Jake watched her go, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Curiosity, apprehension, and a strange sense of excitement. He knew that this was the beginning of something extraordinary, something that would challenge his understanding of love, relationships, and the very nature of what it meant to be human. And he couldn't help but wonder if his offhand joke had inadvertently set in motion a chain of events that would change his life forever. The desert wind howled around him, carrying the scent of strange alien flowers and the promise of an uncertain future. Once in a small town, there lived a kind-hearted human named Leo. He was known for his sense of humor and gentle spirit. Leo worked at a local bookstore where he spent his days surrounded by stories. One sunny afternoon, an unusual event changed his life forever. Leo was outside the bookstore when a bright light zipped across the sky. It landed nearby, behind the old oak tree in the park. Curious, Leo wandered over to see what had happened. As he got closer, he saw a small, green, alien girl staring at him with wide, sparkling eyes. Her name was Lila, and she had come from a distant planet. Lila stood about 3 feet tall. She had big ears, a tiny button nose, and bright purple hair that shimmered in the sunlight. Leo knelt down, smiling at her. "Hello, little one. Are you lost?" he asked, trying to sound as friendly as possible. Lila giggled. "No, I just wanted to see Earth. It's beautiful here." They started to chat about their worlds. Lila shared stories about her planet, where the trees glowed at night and animals could talk. Leo, in turn, told her about Earth. He showed her the park, where children played and flowers bloomed. As they laughed and played, Leo jokingly said, "You know, Lila, when you grow up, I think I'll marry you." Lila laughed too. "That would be funny. You're so silly." Years passed, and whenever Leo thought about that day, he would chuckle. Lila had returned to her planet, but Leo never forgot her. He often wondered what she was doing. Lila has a special place in his heart. She was the first being to make him believe in magic. One evening, as Leo closed the bookstore, a familiar bright light flickered in the sky. His heart raced. Could it be? He whispered to himself. Without thinking, he rushed outside. The spot where he first met Lila was filled with shimmering colors. Suddenly, Lila stood in front of him again, now taller, with more vibrant colors in her hair. "Leo!" she squealed, rushing to hug him. Leo was overjoyed. "Lila, you're back!" he exclaimed, holding her tightly. They both laughed and danced, forgetting the years that had passed. Lila explained that she had come back to Earth to explore more. "But I also came because I wanted to see you. I want to know if your offer still stands," she said, grinning. "What offer?" Leo teased. "I was just joking." "No, you weren't," Lila insisted, her eyes sparkling. "You said you would marry me when I grew up." Leo laughed, his cheeks turning red. "Well, I didn't expect you to actually come back." "I was just a silly human." Lila pouted, but then broke into a smile. "Just because you're silly doesn't mean you can't keep your promise. I'm not a little girl anymore." The two spent the whole day together. They visited the bookstore, and Lila loved the books. She found stories about love and adventures fascinating. Leo took her to see the sunset at the beach. They collected seashells and talked about their hopes and dreams. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden colors into the sky, Lila spoke. "Leo, if I asked you to come back with me, would you? I want to show you my world." Leo's heart raced. He had always dreamed of adventures beyond the stars. But could he leave everything behind? "Lila, I can't just abandon my life here, my work, my friends." Lila's expression turned serious. "I understand. But, Leo, my planet is special, and I thought you'd want to be a part of it. We have so much to offer, just like Earth." Leo looked into her eyes, feeling the weight of his decision. "What if I can't?" "Live up to your world," he asked gently. "You don't have to. You just have to be you." "That's all that matters," she replied, her voice soft and reassuring. Days turned into weeks as Lila stayed on Earth. She helped Leo at the bookstore, where they shared many more laughs and adventures. They met new friends who were curious about Lila and her stories. People started calling her the little alien girl, but Leo simply called her his best friend. With every passing moment, Leo realized how much he cherished Lila. She brought wonder and excitement to his life. One starry night, sitting on a hill, he took a deep breath and asked, "Are you really serious about that marriage thing?" Lila looked at him with a playful grin. "What do you think?" Leo smiled back, but then became serious. "I want to ask you something else, Lila." "What is it?" she asked, tilting her head in curiosity. "If I say yes, what would it mean for us?" Could you live here on Earth? Lila hesitated a moment, her face clouding with thought. That's a tricky question. I love both worlds. But maybe I can visit here often if you would want me around. Leo sighed in relief. I would love that. As time moved forward, they decided to keep their friendship strong, no matter where life took them. They laughed and played together, knowing they both had a special bond that could not be broken. In the end, their friendship blossomed into something deeper. Lila didn't need to rush back to her planet. She found joy in Earth, and Leo found a part of his heart in Lila. Years later, they would share their adventures together and tell the story that began with a simple, silly joke about marriage. Between a human and an alien girl, Leo always smiled as he told this story. You see, sometimes, the most magical things happen when you least expect them. The year was 2242. Mark Olson, a jovial xenoarchaeologist with a penchant for bad jokes, was stationed on Xylos, a planet known for its ancient ruins and even more ancient mysteries. He was part of a team studying the remnants of a civilization that had vanished millennia ago, leaving behind structures that defied human understanding. One day, while exploring a newly discovered ruin, Mark stumbled upon a small, shimmering pod. Inside, nestled in a gel-like substance, was a Xylosian child. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, with skin like polished jade and large, curious silver eyes. The Xylosians were thought to be extinct, wiped out by a cataclysmic event. This little girl was a miracle. Mark, being the closest, carefully extracted her from the pod. She blinked, her silver eyes focusing on him. She babbled in a language he didn't understand, but her expression was clear, confusion and fear. He did his best to soothe her, offering her water and a nutrient bar. The girl, after some hesitation, accepted. The team named her Lyra. She was a quick learner, and within months she was speaking fluent English, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. Mark, with his easygoing nature and playful spirit, became her primary caregiver. He taught her about Earth, about humanity, and about the stars. Lyra, in turn, taught him about the Xylosian culture, their history, and their deep connection to the planet. Years passed. Lyra grew into a bright, inquisitive young woman. She was fascinated by human culture but remained deeply connected to her Xylosian heritage. Mark watched her with a mixture of pride and affection. He was more than just a guardian. He was a father figure. It was during one of their stargazing sessions, lying on the soft Xylosian grass, that Mark made the joke. Lyra was 18, radiant under the twin moons of Xylos. You know, Lyra, he said, when you grow up, I'm going to marry you. He meant it as a light-hearted comment, a testament to their unique bond. He didn't expect her to take it seriously. But Lyra, with her unwavering gaze, simply smiled. Perhaps, Mark. Perhaps. He laughed it off, attributing it to her Xylosian upbringing, which was known for its different customs and social norms. He didn't realize that his words had planted a seed that would blossom in the years to come. Life on Xylos continued. Mark and Lyra continued their research, uncovering more secrets of the lost civilization. They faced dangers, solved mysteries, and grew closer with each passing day. But Mark never forgot the joke he made, the words that hung in the air that night. Then tragedy struck. A rogue asteroid, undetected by planetary defense systems, hurtled towards Xylos. The impact was devastating. The research station was destroyed, and many lives were lost. Mark was severely injured, barely clinging to life. Lyra, using her knowledge of Xylosian technology, managed to get him into a stasis pod, the same kind she was found in. She programmed the pod to send him to the nearest human colony, a planet called Arcadia. I'll find you, Mark, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I promise. Mark drifted through the void, suspended in time. When he finally awoke, he was on Arcadia, in a sterile hospital room. He was greeted by a team of doctors who informed him of the asteroid strike and his miraculous survival. He was a hero, a symbol of resilience. But all Mark could think about was Lyra. He had no way of knowing if she had survived, if she was even alive. He spent months searching for any sign of her, scouring databases and contacting every Xylosian expert he could find. But there was nothing. It was as if she had vanished. Years turned into decades. Mark, now an old man, never gave up hope. He continued to study Xylosian culture, clinging to the memories of his time with Lyra. He lived a quiet life on Arcadia, teaching at the university and sharing his stories with anyone who would listen. One day, a ship landed on Arcadia. It was unlike anything Mark had ever seen. Sleek, silver, and radiating an otherworldly energy, it was undoubtedly Xylosian. A ramp extended from the ship, and a figure emerged. It was Lyra. She hadn't aged a day. Her jade skin was as smooth as ever, her silver eyes as bright. She walked towards him with a grace that defied gravity. Mark stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hello, Mark," she said, her voice as melodious as he remembered. "It has been a long time." He could only manage a weak, "Lyra?" "Yes, Mark, it is I." She smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "I told you I would find you." He rushed towards her, embracing her tightly. He didn't care that decades had passed, that he was an old man and she was still the same age she was when he last saw her. She was here. She was alive. How is this possible?" he stammered. "It's a long story," she said. "But suffice to say, the Xylosians are not as extinct as you thought, and we have mastered the art of manipulating time." She led him aboard the ship, a vessel that was far more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. Inside, he saw other Xylosians, all of whom looked remarkably like Lyra. "We have been watching you, Mark," she said. "We have been waiting for the right moment." "Waiting for what?" he asked, his mind reeling. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes filled with an emotion he couldn't quite decipher. "Waiting for you to fulfill your promise." He remembered the joke he made all those years ago, the words that he had dismissed as a fleeting moment of levity. But Lyra had never forgotten. You want me to marry you?" he asked, incredulous. "Yes, Mark," she said. "I do." He was stunned. He was an old man, and she was a young woman, a member of a highly advanced alien civilization. It made no sense. "But why?" he asked. Lyra stepped closer to him, placing her hand on his cheek. "Because, Mark, you are the kindest, most compassionate being I have ever known. You saved my life, you taught me about the universe, and you showed me what it means to be human. I love you, Mark Olson." Tears welled up in his eyes. He had waited his entire life to hear those words. I don't know what to say," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "Say yes, Mark," she said, her eyes pleading. He looked at her, at the woman he had raised, the woman who had defied the odds to find him. He knew that their lives would be different, that they would face challenges that no other couple had ever faced. But he also knew that he couldn't imagine his life without her. "Yes, Lyra," he said. "Yes, I will marry you." A chorus of cheers erupted from the other Xylosians. Lyra embraced him, her body trembling with joy. And so Mark Olson, the xenoarchaeologist who made a joke about marrying a little alien girl, found himself on the verge of marrying her, decades later. It was a testament to the power of love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring mysteries of the universe. Their wedding, a fusion of human and Xylosian traditions, was a celebration of life, love, and the endless possibilities that lay beyond the stars.